Everyone thinks they know Colorado because they skied Vail or they drove through Denver on the way somewhere else. And I understand, those things exist and they are fine. But Colorado is one of the most geographically extreme states in the country. It has 58 peaks above 14,000 feet. It has a desert that looks like Mars. It has sand dunes that rise 750 feet from a flat mountain valley floor. It has ancient cliff dwellings built by a civilization that vanished 700 years ago. It has hot springs, slot canyons, ghost towns, world-class fly fishing, and a stretch of highway through the San Juan Mountains that is consistently ranked among the most beautiful drives on the planet. The version of Colorado that most people visit is maybe 10% of what is actually here. I have been through this state corner to corner, the mountains, the desert, the plateau, the eastern plains, the river canyons, and I put together the definitive list. 30 places in Colorado that will completely change what you thought this state was. Let's get into it. Number 1, the Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve, Alamosa County. The tallest sand dunes in North America are in Colorado, and they make no geological sense until you understand how they got there. The dunes sit at the base of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in the San Luis Valley, a 14,000-foot mountain backdrop behind 750-foot dunes rising from a flat valley floor, with a shallow creek called Medano Creek flowing between the dunes and the parking lot in spring and early summer. The creek is seasonal and cold and ankle-deep and full of children running through it. And beyond it, the dunes rise at 34 degrees into the sky, and the hike to the top is genuinely hard. 2 steps forward, 1 step sliding back, and the view from the summit ridge of the valley, the mountains, and the dunes rolling away in every direction is one of the most surreal panoramas in the American West. In winter, the dunes get snow, and the contrast of white snow on rust-colored sand against the blue mountains behind them is something no photo captures adequately. Number 2, Mesa Verde National Park, Montezuma County. The ancestral Puebloans built entire villages into the cliff faces of the Mesa Verde Plateau between 600 and 1300 AD and then left. Nobody knows with certainty why. Cliff Palace, the largest cliff dwelling in North America, has 150 rooms and 23 kivas tucked into a natural alcove in the canyon wall and looks from the overlook trail like a city that was simply paused mid-construction and never resumed. The guided tour descends by ladder and stone, step to the dwelling floor, and the ranger, who tells the story of the people who built it, lived in it, and departed does that so in a way that makes the absence feel recent rather than 700 years old. Balcony House is the more adventurous tour. A 32-foot ladder, a crawl through a narrow tunnel, climb along an exposed ledge with a sheer canyon drop below, and the payoff is standing inside a dwelling that has been there since 1200 AD and feeling the specific vertigo of that number becoming real. This is one of the most significant archaeological sites in the United States, and it is, inexplicably, still undervisited. Number 3, the Maroon Bells Aspen. The 2 Maroon Bells peaks reflected in Maroon Lake at sunrise, with the aspens turning gold in late September, is the single most photographed mountain scene in North America. That is not marketing language. The American Society of Landscape Architects put that in writing, and standing there in person at 6 a.m. before the shuttle buses arrive in the silence of the Elk Mountains with the reflection perfect in the water and the gold of the aspens catching the first light. It is one of those experiences that lands somewhere in your chest rather than just your eyes. The drive to Maroon Lake is restricted in peak season and requires a shuttle from Aspen, which is the one barrier that keeps the crowds manageable. Take the early shuttle. Be at the lake before sunrise. Everything about that morning will be worth whatever it costs to get there. Number 4, the Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, Montrose County. The Black Canyon is one of the least visited national parks in the country and one of the most dramatic gorges in the Western Hemisphere. The Gunnison River has cut a canyon 2,722 feet deep through some of the hardest rock on the continent. Precambrian that formed 1.7 billion years ago, and the walls are so sheer and so close together that in places only 33 feet of sky is visible from the bottom. The canyon earns its name. The walls are so steep that sunlight reaches the inner canyon for only 30 minutes per day in some sections. The South Rim Drive gives you 12 overlooks, each more dramatic than the last. The Painted Wall, the tallest cliff face in Colorado at 2,250 feet, streaked with pink and white pegmatite intrusions that look like brushstrokes from the rim, is one of the great geological spectacles in the American West. And look, if you are watching this and you have not subscribed yet, do it right now. Hit subscribe, smash that like button, and drop a comment below telling me which state you want me to cover next. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know, and it means I can keep making videos exactly like this one. Let's keep going. Number 5. Rocky Mountain National Park, Larimer County. Trail Ridge Road, the highest continuous paved road in the United States, reaching 12,183 feet. Crosses Rocky Mountain National Park and puts you above treeline for 11 miles through alpine tundra, where the vegetation is the same as the Arctic and the views extend to every horizon. The Elk Rut in September is one of the most extraordinary wildlife spectacles in North America. Hundreds of bull elk moving through the Kawunich Valley and the meadows around Estes Park, bugling at dusk in a sound that carries across the mountains and raises something ancient in whatever part of the brain still processes wilderness as real. Bear Lake is the most accessible alpine lake in the park, and the mirror reflection of Hallett Peak in it at dawn is the park's signature image. The backcountry of Rocky Mountain, the Wild Basin, the Mummy Range, the Never Summer Mountains is 265,000 acres of wilderness with permit-required camping and trails that give you days above 11,000 feet with no one around. Number 6. Telluride and the Bridal Veil Falls, San Miguel County. Telluride is a former silver mining town in a box canyon in the San Juan Mountains, surrounded by 13,000-foot peaks, one side open to the valley. And it is one of the most beautiful towns in Colorado, in a state with extraordinary competition for that title. Bridal Veil Falls, at the closed end of the canyon, drops 365 feet and is the tallest free-falling waterfall in Colorado, and the road that climbs past it to the Alpine Plateau above, past the historic powerhouse that still generates electricity for the town, gives you a view looking back at Telluride's Victorian storefronts and mountain backdrop that is one of the great small-town views in the American West. The gondola that connects Telluride to the mountain village above is free to ride and gives you aerial views of the canyon and the valley that no trail provides. Number 7. The Colorado National Monument, Grand Junction. The Colorado Plateau comes into its own at the Colorado National Monument, a 23-square-mile wilderness of red rock canyons, monoliths, and mesas on the western slope that most people drive past on I-70 without knowing it exists. Rim Rock Drive traces the canyon edge for 23 miles and gives you overlooks of Independence Monument, a 450-foot sandstone monolith, and the Fruta Canyon and Wedding Canyon systems, with the Book Cliffs rising behind them and the Grand Valley spread below. The geology here is Entrada sandstone, the same formation as Arches National Park. And the colors at sunset, when the rock goes from orange to deep red to almost purple, are as good as anything in southern Utah. And because it is not southern Utah, you frequently have the overlooks entirely to yourself. Number 8. Hanging Lake, Glenwood Canyon, the most difficult permit required hike in Colorado and the most rewarding. Hanging Lake is a travertine lake perched on a ledge partway up the cliff face of Glenwood Canyon, formed when the canyon wall collapsed long ago and the creek that used to flow through became a series of travertine dams, building up over centuries until a lake formed that spills in a curtain of waterfalls over the lip. The water is a shade of teal green that is produced by the mineral content of the travertine and looks completely artificial. The trail up is 1 mile and gains 1,000 feet in that mile. It is genuinely steep and genuinely worth it. The permit system limits daily visitors, and the result is a lake that feels private even in summer. Spouting rock 100 yards beyond the lake, where a stream shoots directly from the canyon wall, is the detail that makes the whole experience feel dreamlike. Number 9, Pawnee National Grassland, Weld County. Colorado has 54 for 14ers, and almost everyone comes for them. The Pawnee Buttes in the shortgrass prairie of northeastern Colorado are 300 feet tall, and they draw nobody. The Pawnee National Grassland is what eastern Colorado looked like before agriculture. Rolling shortgrass prairie stretching to every horizon with the Rockies as a distant backdrop on clear days. And the birding here in spring and early summer is extraordinary. Lark buntings, McCown's longspurs, mountain plovers, ferruginous hawks, burrowing owls at their burrow entrances. The Pawnee Buttes Trail is a 7-mile round trip across the open prairie to 2 white sandstone columns rising from the plain. And the silence out there. No roads audible, no buildings visible, just the wind and the grass and the hawks. Is the specific silence that the West used to produce everywhere and now produces almost nowhere. Number 10, the Collegiate Peaks, Chaffee County. The stretch of the Sawatch Range above Buena Vista contains 4 14ers named for Ivy League universities: Harvard, Yale, Columbia, and Oxford, plus Princeton nearby. And the valley below them along the Arkansas River is one of the best whitewater rafting corridors in the state. Brownsville Canyon National Monument, recently designated, protects the most heavily rafted stretch of the Arkansas, and the canyon walls it cuts through are 1,000 feet of ancient granite. But the thing I want you to know about the Collegiate Peaks is the view from County Road 306 and heading west from Buena Vista on a clear morning. The entire wall of the Sawatch Range above 14,000 feet from Harvard to Antero, reflected in the pond at Midland Pond if the wind is calm, and it is one of the 10 best mountain views in a state full of mountain views. You are 10 places deep and you are still here, which tells me you are exactly the kind of traveler this list was made for. Subscribe right now, hit the like button, and leave a comment below telling me which of these first 10 you are most surprised to hear about. I read every single one, and I respond to more than you'd expect. Hit that bell so you don't miss what's coming. Let's keep going. Number 11, Ouray and the Ice Park, Ouray County. Ouray is called the Switzerland of America, and it earns the comparison in a way that most places given that label do not. The town sits in a narrow box canyon in the San Juan Mountains at 7,792 feet, ringed by peaks above 13,000 feet, and the single road in is the same road out. The Ouray Ice Park in the Uncompahgre Gorge just below town is the largest man-made ice climbing park in the world. A canyon where the cliff faces are artificially iced each winter to produce routes for every skill level. Free to enter, free to watch, extraordinary to observe when expert climbers are moving up vertical ice in crampon and ice axe. The Ouray Hot Springs Pool in the center of town is fed by natural geothermal water and has been operating since 1927. And the $1 Million Highway, the stretch of US 550 south from Ouray through the San Juan Mountains to Silverton, is 15 miles of road cut directly into cliff faces above 1,000-foot drops with no guardrails in places, and it is one of the most extraordinary and terrifying drives in North America. Number 12, Garden of the Gods, Colorado Springs, a city park with 300-foot sandstone formations rising from a flat base with Pikes Peak behind them, and it is free to enter. That combination should not exist. The formations, balanced rock, the Three Graces, the Kissing Camels, the Cathedral Spires, are Permian sandstone tilted from horizontal to near vertical by the uplift of the Front Range 65 million years ago, and the contrast between the red rock and the green juniper and the white summit of Pikes Peak in the background is the color palette that defines Colorado in most people's imaginations. The sunrise and sunset viewpoints in the park are consistently ranked among the best free landscape photography locations in the state. The trail system connects the formations, and the ridge overlooks and can occupy a full day or a 2-hour morning, depending on what you want from it. Number 13. The Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad, La Plata and San Juan counties. A coal-fired steam train that has been running continuously since 1882 through the Animas River Canyon between Durango and Silverton. 45 miles of track through some of the most dramatic mountain scenery in Colorado, with no road access for most of the route. You board in Durango, the train climbs through the Animas Canyon while the river falls away, 400 feet below on one side, and the rock walls rise on the other, and 3.5 hours later you arrive in Silverton, a perfectly preserved 1880s silver mining town at 9,318 feet that has no bypass road, and therefore has never been bypassed. The return trip runs in afternoon light. The total experience is 7 hours of mountain travel by steam locomotive through wilderness that has changed almost nothing since the train first ran through it 140 years ago. Number 14. Crested Butte and the wildflower capital of Colorado. Crested Butte calls itself the wildflower capital of Colorado, and the designation is official. In July, the meadows and hillsides around town produce blooms of lupine, columbine, Indian paintbrush, sunflower, and larkspur in densities and combinations that turn entire mountainsides into color fields visible from miles away. The Snodgrass Trail above town is the most accessible route through the bloom, and it is the place where photographers from across the country set up in early July every year. But the East River Valley and the Gothic Road north of town take you through the Rocky Mountain Biological Laboratory, the world's premier high-altitude ecological research station, and past the ghost town of Gothic. And the combination of research station, the wildflowers, and the around 12,000-foot peaks is the version of Colorado that most people arrive having never imagined existed. Number 15. Dinosaur National Monument, Moffett County. The most significant dinosaur fossil site ever discovered is in Colorado, and most people have never heard of it. The Carnegie Quarry at Dinosaur National Monument contains 100 dinosaur bones still embedded in the cliff face. Not removed to a museum, not cast in plaster, the actual fossils of Diplodocus, Camarasaurus, Allosaurus, and Stegosaurus in the sandstone where they were deposited 149 million years ago. The quarry exhibit hall was built around the fossil wall, and you walk up to it and put your hand on a dinosaur femur, the size of your torso, that has been there since the Jurassic. Beyond the quarry, the canyon country of the monument, the Yampa and Green Rivers cutting through the Uinta Mountains, is extraordinary whitewater and wilderness. The Gates of Lodore, where the Green River enters a sheer canyon, is one of the great river entrances in the West, and the multi-day float through it is one of the premier wilderness river trips in the country. Number 16, the Florissant Fossil Beds National Monument, Teller County. 35 million years ago, a series of volcanic eruptions buried a forest and a lake in the middle of what is now central Colorado, and the preservation was extraordinary. The Florissant fossil beds contain the best preserved Eocene insect fossils in the world. Over 1,700 species identified, many known only from this site, as well as the largest petrified sequoia stumps on Earth, up to 14 feet in diameter, scattered across the monument floor. You walk a trail past stumps that were the largest trees in the forest 35 million years ago, now stone, and the laboratory at the visitor center displays fossils of spiders, butterflies, beetles, and leaves at a level of detail that requires a hand lens to fully appreciate. This is a scientific site of global significance that looks, from the outside, like a pleasant meadow walk. Number 17, the Royal Gorge, Cañon City. The Arkansas River drops through a canyon where the walls rise 1,000 feet of granite on both sides. And the Royal Gorge Bridge, at 956 feet above the river, the highest suspension bridge in the United States for 74 years after its construction in 1929, crosses it. Walking Across the bridge with the river far below through the grating and the canyon walls above you on both sides is a physical experience that activates something in your nervous system regardless of how you feel about heights. The Via Ferrata route along the canyon wall is one of the most accessible and spectacular fixed route climbing experiences in Colorado, and the train that runs along the river at the canyon bottom, the Royal Gorge Route Railroad, gives you the view from below, with the bridge visible 1,000 feet overhead and the canyon walls pressing in close on both sides. Number 18, the San Luis Valley and the Rio Grande del Norte, Castilla County. The San Luis Valley is the largest alpine valley in the world. 7,500 feet elevation, surrounded by 14,000-foot peaks, 50 miles wide and 120 miles long, and the Rio Grande del Norte National Monument at its southern edge protects a section of the Rio Grande where the river has cut 800-foot basalt gorges through the high plateau. The Wild Rivers Recreation Area gives you overlooks of two gorge confluences, the Rio Grande and the Red River, from trails on the basalt rim, and the hike down to the river level and back up is one of the finest day hikes in New Mexico. Wait, the monument actually straddles the border, and the experience is definitively the high desert Southwest at its most dramatic. Number 19, Leadville, Lake County. The highest incorporated city in the United States at 10,152 feet, a former silver boom town that produced more millionaires per capita than any city in the country in the 1880s, and is still there, still lived in, still gorgeous, in a faded Victorian way that no restoration project has sanitized. The matchless mine where silver magnate Horace Tabor made his fortune, and his wife Baby Doe froze to death in 1935, still holding his last instruction to never give up the mine, is accessible on a self-guided tour that is one of the most genuinely moving historic experiences in Colorado. Turquoise Lake outside town, a reservoir at 9,900 feet surrounded by spruce and fir, is one of the most beautiful lakes in the state. And the Leadville Trail 100, the highest and one of the oldest 100-mile ultramarathons in the world, tells you in practical terms what it means to run at altitude when you watch the runners come through the aid station at mile 50 at 3 in the morning. Number 20, the Weminuche Wilderness, Hinsdale and Mineral Counties, the largest wilderness area in Colorado, almost 500,000 acres of roadless San Juan Mountains, is accessible from the Durango-Silverton train, which drops hikers at Needleton or Elk Park for multi-day trips into the interior. The Chicago Basin, reached by a 9-mile approach, gives access to 3 14ers, Wyndham, Sunlight, and Eolus, in a single cirque. And the basin itself, with its wildflower meadows and reflecting lakes and 360 degrees of peaks above 13,000 feet, is the destination that serious Colorado backpackers talk about the way other people talk about the best trip of their life. The Continental Divide Trail crosses the Weminuche for over 100 miles, and the section through the Needles is widely considered the finest high route hiking in Colorado. 20 places, and you are absolutely still here. That means you are going to want to subscribe right now, hit the like button, and drop a comment below. Tell me if you have been to any of these 20 places already and which one you went to. I want to know. Hit that bell too, because the last 10 places on this list are the Colorado that even Coloradans have not fully explored. Let's finish this. Number 21. The Colorado Plateau Canyons and Dominguez Escalante National Conservation Area, Mesa County. The western slope of Colorado near Grand Junction contains canyon country that most people drive past on I-70 without turning south. The Dominguez Escalante NCA protects 210,000 acres of canyon, mesa, and river corridor carved by the Gunnison River and its tributaries through Mesozoic sandstone and shale. Cacti Park area has canyon overlooks that look directly across to the Book Cliffs, one of the longest continuous escarpments in the world. The Dominguez Canyon Wilderness has ancestral Puebloan rock art panels on the canyon walls and a slot canyon section along the river accessible only by wading. This is canyon country at the quality level of southern Utah, with none of the traffic, none of the permit pressure, and prices in the gateway town of Grand Junction that remind you what the West used to cost. Number 22. The Poudre Canyon and Cache la Poudre River, Larimer County. The only federally designated wild and scenic river in Colorado, runs through a canyon an hour west of Fort Collins and produces one of the most accessible whitewater experiences in the state. Class 2 through Class V water, depending on section and season, with outfitters in the canyon providing everything from beginner floats to expert kayak instruction. The canyon road runs alongside the river for 60 miles and gives you continuous views of the river and the canyon walls without requiring a hike. The upper canyon opens into a high park system, Chambers Lake Joe Wright Reservoir, that provides some of the finest stillwater fly fishing in northern Colorado. And the canyon is a major migration corridor. Raptors in fall, songbirds in spring, and bighorn sheep visible on the canyon walls year-round from the road. Number 23, Steamboat Springs and the Yampa River Core Trail. Steamboat Springs has been a ranching and ski town since the 1880s, and it has maintained a character. Genuine western town, working ranches visible from the resort, a downtown that serves actual residents, that Aspen and Vail surrendered decades ago. The Yampa River Core Trail runs 6.5 miles through the center of town along the river and connects the downtown commercial district to Steamboat Springs State Park and the natural hot springs at the east end of town. The Strawberry Park Natural Hot Springs, 9 miles north of town on a dirt road, are a series of rock and concrete pools fed by a 104-degree geothermal spring above a creek. Clothing optional after dark, family-friendly during the day. And the experience of soaking in 104-degree water in a snowstorm while looking at stars through the steam is specifically the Colorado experience that no brochure adequately describes. Number 24. The Great Divide Basin and Encampment River Wilderness, Jackson County. This is the one on the list that requires the most commitment and returns the most. The North Park region of Colorado. Jackson County, the broad mountain valley between the Park Range and the Medicine Bow Mountains, is one of the least visited areas in the state and one of the richest for wildlife. Moose populations have been re-establishing in the wetlands along the Michigan River since the 1970s, and the density is now high enough that morning drives on the county roads produce multiple sightings reliably in early summer. The Encampment River Wilderness across the Wyoming border connects to Colorado trail systems and gives you roadless wilderness in a landscape that operates at the scale and pace of northern Canada. Number 25. The Gunnison National Forest and Curacanti National Recreation Area, Gunnison County. The Blue Mesa Reservoir, Colorado's largest body of water, sits at 7,519 feet in the Black Canyon country east of Montrose, and the landscape around it is the high desert version of the Rocky Mountains at its most open and most blue. The Morrow Point Reservoir below it, accessible only by a steep 232-step trail, is a boat tour destination where the canyon walls of the Black Canyon system are visible above the reservoir, and the combination of deep blue water, sheer granite, and the scale of the canyon system is the most dramatic lake experience in Colorado. The elk and mule deer populations in the surrounding Gunnison National Forest are among the densest in the state, and the fall hunting season draws outfitters who have been running the same camps for 60 years. Number 26, the Sandwash Basin Wild Horse Area, Moffett County. In the high desert of northwestern Colorado, a herd of several hundred wild horses has lived on federal land managed by the Bureau of Land Management for generations, and is accessible by a dirt road that requires nothing more than patience and a high-clearance vehicle. You drive slowly along the basin roads, and the horses, stallions, mares, foals, come into view grazing, sparring, drinking at stock ponds, moving across the sagebrush in groups of related animals. No fences, no corrals, no handlers. Wild horses in a landscape that looks exactly like the Great Basin did before roads, and you can drive through it for free on a Tuesday morning with nobody else around. This is the kind of access to genuine wildness that Americans have in abundance and consistently fail to use. Number 27. The Cumbres and Toltec Scenic Railroad, Conejos County. The other historic narrow-gauge railroad in Colorado. Less famous than the Durango-Silverton, more remote and in certain respects more authentic. The Cumbres and Toltec runs 64 miles from Antonito, Colorado to Chama, New Mexico, through the most isolated section of the San Juan Mountains, crossing the Colorado-New Mexico border 11 times, climbing to 10,000 15-foot Cumbres Pass through forests and meadows and canyon sections that are completely inaccessible by road. The train runs mid-May through mid-October, and the fall Aspen trip in late September is one of the most spectacular narrow-gauge experiences in the American West. The aspen gold through the windows of an 1880s passenger car, the steam and coal smoke, the mountain air coming through the open vestibule between cars. A round trip requires either a car shuttle or a return by van. Commit to it. Number 28. The Dinosaur Diamond Prehistoric Highway, Mesa County. The northwest corner of Colorado is part of a 512-mile driving loop called the Dinosaur Diamond that connects the most significant paleontological sites in the Four Corners region. Within Colorado's section, Riggs Hill in Grand Junction is where Elmer Riggs discovered the world's first Brachiosaurus in 1900. The quarry site is marked and interpretive, and the bone fragments are still visible in the eroding hillside. The Museum of Western Colorado in Grand Junction has a world-class paleontology collection, and the Dinosaur Journey Satellite Museum at Fruita, where visitors can watch active excavation in summer, is one of the best hands-on science museum experiences available in the state. Number 29. The Telluride Via Ferrata and the Bridal Veil Basin. You have heard about Telluride already on this list, but the Via Ferrata above town is a completely separate experience, and it belongs here on its own terms. The Telluride Via Ferrata is a fixed-route climbing system on the canyon walls above the town that is accessible with basic gear rental and requires no prior climbing experience. The route traverses ledges and iron rungs above the town and the valley, and the views from the route, Telluride directly below, the mountains above, the canyon walls around you, are available no other way. The Bridal Veil Basin above the falls, reached by the road that climbs past the historic powerhouse, is an alpine plateau at 12,000 feet with views of the entire Telluride Canyon system and access to the Sneffels Range Wilderness that most visitors to Telluride never reach because they stop at the falls and turn around. Number 30. The $1 Million Highway at Dusk, and you stayed. You end this list where Colorado was always leading you. On the 15 miles of US 550 between Ouray and Silverton as the light runs out. This road has no guardrails and sections. It has corners where you look directly down 2,000 feet to the valley floor, while the peak above you catches the last alpenglow. The road was blasted from the cliff face through the San Juan Mountains a century ago by workers paid $1 a day in material costs. Hence the name, depending on who you ask. You drive it slowly. You pull off where the pullouts exist, and you look at what the San Juan Mountains do with the last 20 minutes of daylight. The way the rock changes from orange to rose to deep burgundy to the first blue of night. And when the light is gone and you drive the remaining miles to Silverton in the dark, with the mountains invisible above you and the stars coming out over the town, you understand why people who find Colorado never entirely leave. That is what this state does to you. And now you know where to go. Here is your assignment. 3 places from this list. Write them in the comments right now. Not 10, not the whole list, 3. That comment is a commitment you are making to yourself in public, and the psychology of it is real. You are dramatically more likely to follow through when you put it in writing. Come back when you have done your 3 and tell me which one changed something. I want to know if the Maroon Bell's sunrise was everything. I want to know what the fossil wall at Dinosaur felt like with your hand on it. I want to know if you stayed on the $1 Million Highway until the light was completely gone. These are the stories worth having. If you made it to the end of this video, this channel was made for you. Hit subscribe right now, smash that like button, and drop a comment below with your 3 picks. I read every single one. Hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. And go watch the next video right here, which covers the 30 best places in Washington State. Because Washington State is the place that people fly over to get to Seattle, and almost nobody has seen what's actually there. I will see you there.